Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to Why Are CDs the Greatest Recorded Format in Music History? I'm going to break it all down here. I'm going to talk about it. I myself have been a music fan since 1989 and I've been collecting CDs since 1991. So in that intervening 34 years, I've amassed 13,000 CDs in my collection. Yes, I also collect records. I still have cassettes. So I like all the formats. This is all in good fun and a little tongue in cheek. And through those years, I've watched the CD rise. I've watched the CD fall. And the last few years, it seems like the CD itself is finally starting to make a comeback, which I believe in part is that people are starting to realize that CDs are the greatest recorded format in music history. Yes, I'm sure I'm ruffling a few feathers right at this point. We're going to get into it here and break it down in just a moment. But of course, if you're new to my channel, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to comment and like. Also, turn on notifications so you never miss an episode and can stay up to date on feather ruffling episodes like this one, where I'm asking the question, why are CDs the greatest recorded format in music history? As I mentioned, this is all in good fun, and of course, we all have our personal preferences, but I myself am a CD guy. This here is a CD channel, and I do think there is a case to be made for the CD being the greatest recorded format in history. So I want to jump back just briefly, touch on the history of the CD for those that don't know, because it goes back to 1982 when it was created by Philips and Sony. The format gained widespread popularity in the late 80s and early 90s, and by 1991 itself had surpassed vinyl and cassette sales. By 2000, it had 92% of the market in terms of physical format music. By 2007, they estimated having sold over 2 billion CDs. But of course, the CD itself, while regarded as the final dominant format, because as streaming came along in the early 2000s, it began the decline of the CD with the MP3, digital downloads, and streaming services. The vinyl record itself began to rise back in 2016, and then in 2023, for the first time, vinyl records actually outsold CDs. Up until that time, units of CDs had still sold more than any other format. So in 2023, vinyl records sold 43 million units and CDs themselves 37 million units. But I attribute a lot of that to artists that have stopped releasing things on CDs. I still believe the CD is far superior. And of course, we are going to talk about why the CD itself is the greatest recorded format in history. So I'm going to start off and talk about the packaging of this CD. First and foremost, smaller than the LP itself, right? Now, I know there's the case to be made that the art is bigger and we can see this. It is beautiful. One of the things I've always had a problem with in terms of records is the very, very thin spine. And I always have such a hard time finding that on my record shelves like you see behind me there. But here we get to actually see the artist. There is a thick enough amount to this that I think is one of the reasons that makes it superior is the legibility of that spine. And there other things, it's the plastic case on this is the protection. When it's cardboard, it can get beat up, scratched, hurt. You can change a plastic case, but you can't change this. Now, of course, we could talk about the Digipack, which I don't like, and it too can get scratched and damaged. And if it gets damaged in any way, or this plastic tray breaks, you can't replace, or you have to replace the whole thing. But I'm talking in general about the original CD format in the jewel case. If any part of this cracks or breaks, we can replace it. Another thing to talk about is the fact that the CD itself can hold up to 80 minutes worth of music, whereas a standard vinyl record generally only holds 45 minutes of music. You can get more on it, but the more that you get on it, sound quality goes down. We're going to talk a bit more about that later on when I get to talking about sound quality, because I want to hit on 5 different things here. And the next one that's in here to talk about is the ease of operation on this. So you can pretty much operate with one hand on this thing. You can open it with one hand, and I can take it out with one hand and never have to actually touch the disc. Pop it back in. You can touch the top of this as much as you want. You can do it with 2 fingers and pop like that and grab it. But I found a long time ago to actually grab it like this, pressing in the center, right? And I can take it out. So it's a very simple thing where I don't harm the booklet, I don't harm the case, and I don't damage the CD in any way, shape, or form. We all know about vinyl. I'm not going to go through opening and closing this, but I've got to take it out of its protective sleeve, number one. And even if you don't have it in the sleeve, you then have to take it out of the sleeve that's on the inside. And for me, I always end up having to touch the corner of the record, and I don't like doing that. I understand that touching that, the oils from the fingers and things, that is a bad thing for records. But you don't actually do that. You don't touch you're not supposed to. You can touch the sides of it. Now, of course, that's different for ones that, see if it's one like this one. Here it is. All right, so cool thing about CDs, you know, the slip cases, stuff like this, booklets that are inside it, CDs that are in ones like these, the cardboard cases, where touching that CD does kind of become like the record, so I do recognize that. But of course, in a lot of cases, you can just tilt it out and kind of slide it until it gets in your hand. And I still feel that this is still a better way to store the music overall. In general, that ease of operation with it. You can actually touch the underside. It doesn't affect it. There's ways to clean it if too much finger oil were to get on it. CDs are so durable. In fact, you can actually take the bottom of your shirt and clean it. You're not going to hurt it. They're just far more durable. And another thing that I hadn't really thought about, but when I was putting this together, I realized you can leave your CDs in the car with the heat and nothing's going to happen to it, but you cannot leave a record in the car. It will warp. Certainly, you're not going to play it in your car. So another thing about the ease of operation of CDs is that you can play them in your car. Yes, of course, we could play cassettes in the car. These are fairly easy to operate, right? We can talk about whether or not, like, on the sense of operating them, you can skip on a CD right to the thing, but on a record, you have to pick up the needle and move it. On the cassette, you had to fast forward, rewind to get where it was. You never knew. It didn't just stop at the next track, but CDs were built where they do that. They actually stop at the next track. So very easy to operate. Another thing, new topic here, is the durability. And I started getting into that. We're saying, like, you can actually touch the bottom of the CD. You can actually wipe it with a cotton shirt. You're not going to hurt it. Dust collects on records. It gets in the grooves. Oftentimes getting them from record plants, they're already dirty. They need to be cleaned. That dust and dirt hurts the needles on records, but it doesn't hurt on a CD. Say you put a dirty CD in that's got fingerprints on it. It doesn't hurt the laser that reads it, so your player doesn't get hurt. But records, actually, every time they're played, get more and more and more worn. And cassette, the tape is the same way. There is a head that physically touches it. So both the record and the cassette do get worn out playing it. That's where that saying is, oh, I loved it so much, I wore it out, right? No such thing with a CD. You can't wear a CD out. You can fuck up a CD and scratch it so much it won't play. And I guess technically that's the same thing. But if you handle it right, you cannot wear out a CD. It does not diminish. So the sound quality, the playback on this is the exact same from the very first time that you listen to it, unlike cassettes and unlike records. There's detriment to both of those over time. So let's move into talking about the sound quality of a CD. In my opinion, it is on par with vinyl, and it is superior to cassettes. And a lot of people would argue that. We can get into the analog aspect, but most things have been recorded digital since the 90s itself. And so what's being pressed onto vinyl are still digital recordings anyway. meaning it is no better than what you're getting on the CD. And technology has come so far that players and the way that they read and the disc itself sound magnificent next to records. I don't think they sound better than records, but I do think they sound as good. I have some albums that I have on both record, cassette, and CD, and I have listened to them all. And in my opinion, the CD is as good as a record. A lot of that comes down to our own ears, and I will acknowledge that we all hear things differently. And some people will say no matter what, a vinyl record is going to sound warmer and fresher, or however it is that you want to describe it, than a CD. And that's okay. That's how that person hears it. But I do believe that with technology and where we currently are today, the CD itself sounds as good. And as I said, there's no loss in sound quality when playing it. Plus, where a CD can have 80 minutes worth of music, if you go beyond that 45-minute mark with a record, and they have to get the grooves closer together and you lose sound quality. So the more you cram onto a single LP, the lesser the sound quality is on it, which also then means you have to have two LPs oftentimes to get that 80 minutes worth of music that is on one CD. And so partly because of that, there's less packaging, there's less of everything to it, and it's also all on one disc. I'm not having to pick up the needle 2 times for one record, two times for the next, 4 times, plus 2, flipping a record in the middle. All of those things, at least to me, make CDs superior. And again, I know this comes from a generational aspect. I grew up with CDs. I grew up first on cassettes, moved to CDs, and absolutely fell in love with them over the cassette, mostly because I could skip a track. But I also like the CD because I can listen to the entirety of an album without having to get up in about 15 to 18 minutes and flip it. I can lay down, and if I fall asleep, the music just plays through. The vinyl doesn't just spin around and have the arm of the record on there, jumping up and down because it's not being picked up and it needs to be lifted off of it. So there's a little bit of all these sort of things that, at least in my opinion, makes the CD a superior thing. Then we move on to cost. And in my opinion, again, you get more bang for the buck. I was just talking about the 80 minutes that can fit on a CD. And so you get more on a CD oftentimes than you do on an LP. There's a lot of cases where extra things have been added to CDs that are not on the LP. They're left off of it. They're edited down. Different things like that occur, whereas in CDs, you often get bonus tracks and extra stuff on it. So you're getting more bang for your buck, in my opinion. CDs or I should say used CDs, are often in better condition than used vinyl is, just because of the way and the ease of handling it over time. So again, if you're buying a used album, that CD is often far better condition than LPs. And of course, I know there's always the other end of that. Certainly you can get the absolute most beat up LP there is out there, and that exists in CDs as well. But in general, and this is my experience going into record stores, that 9 times out of 10, the CDs look very, very good with a minor scuff on it. But there's more times than not that I find an LP and I open it and take it out and say, I'm not taking a chance on this. Or the cover is too beat up, it's bent, it's worn, the record is falling through the sleeve, it is split on the sides. Just any number of those sort of things that don't hold up over time on an LP that a CD, in my opinion, does better. And so a lot of vinyl, because of the popularity and it's selling what it's selling for today, the collector's pricing of vinyl, by far exceeds what I want to pay for a lot of that stuff. Whereas CDs, even those collector prices of CDs, have never really hit what vinyl has hit. There are some CDs that are out there that are in the thousands. Literally, I have one myself that midline sells for about $1,400 on Discogs. So they can get up there for that. But generally speaking, a CD, even when it's a rarity, is far less by dollars, quite a bit, than it would be on LP. You might be able to pick up the CD for 50 when the LP is 150, or pick up the CD for 100 when the LP is 350. And a lot of times when those LPs are $350, you can get that CD for 10 bucks. So in most cases, again, I just think cost-wise, it's far better. But trading CDs, quite the opposite. You get next to nothing. You get, pennies. You might get $1, $2 if you're lucky. Whereas obviously for vinyl, you can actually still get quite a bit of money. So, there you go. That at least is where I am with this. And the bottom line on the whole thing that I've been covering here with why I think CDs are the greatest recorded format. Anyone can use a CD. It's easy to handle. I think it's easier than records. Children can handle them far easier than records and not mess them up. The packaging, the CD itself, very, very durable. The longevity of the CD. The quality remains the same over the life of the CD, whereas an LP, every time it is played, it continues to slowly reduce until it will be worn out. Yes, there is a whole separate topic to be had about the fact that a CD, at some point, supposedly down the road, it was supposed to have already occurred at the 40-year mark, and it hasn't. Maybe the 50-year mark, where CDs are going to disintegrate and no longer be playable. But I tend to think that had more to do with the CDRs, the recordable ones, and those have broken down over years. Whereas the CD themselves, here we are, coming onto the market in 1982. I have some original CDs from 1983, putting them at 42 years at this point, and they still play perfectly fine. And I do believe they're going to hold up for a lot longer than what was originally believed to be the case with CDs. So again, I still think the longevity of the CD is there. Technology with CDs today sounds as good as vinyl. I mean, hell, we even had mobile fidelity using digital, the same recording from a CD, mastered down to their LPs and selling them, and nobody knew the difference on it. So it goes to show you the quality of the CD can be as high as vinyl records, and the overall cost of the CD being less than your general LP. You can get a CD for $10, $12, $15, but an LP is going to be, even at its cheapest, $25 up to $35. And I've seen some single LPs, brand new ones, on the market at $45 and $50 when they're coming out, which is absolutely insane. So more bang for your buck with a CD. Come out of the store with 2-3 CDs for the price of one LP. And so for all those reasons right there, CDs are the greatest recorded format in music history. Yes, a heady statement. I'm sure I've ruffled a lot of feathers with it, and feel free to weigh in and tell me otherwise. But I know those of you that are CD fanatics like myself, and the viewers here on this channel, will for the most part agree with me on this, but it's fun nonetheless. And as I said, a little tongue-in-cheek, because I myself have 400 LPs over there, and certainly having held up one of my favorite artists, Stranger, I've got on the LP, I've got the CD, I've got this very rare Pearl Jam Alive giveaway cassette as a promo item, and I've got other different formats of the CD themselves. So there's a lot of different things that are here. One last thing I totally forgot to show you guys, and I'll just wrap up with, is the whole art. When talking about, oh, this art is bigger than this art, let me show you what CDs also did oftentimes. There you go. There is the album art. Same as that. So a lot of times the CDs unfolded and gave you the same as the record, and you weren't actually missing out on anything. And in fact, I always loved that the the CD portion of it looked one way and the unfold was something else in it. But again, all these many different reasons are why I think that in the end of the day, while it was also the final format, physical format, major one that was out there in the market, I think the CD is still the greatest. And I think that it's making a comeback. In fact, I'm going to list put a link in here for you guys for why I think the CD itself is making its comeback. I posted that one about a week or so back, which is why I'm on this theme of CDs here for our channel. But I do think that it's making the comeback, and a lot of people are finally realizing this, and this is part of that. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Certainly weigh in with your thoughts on it. And everyone out there, hey, keep buying CDs because in my opinion, greatest format in music history. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a good one. And I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.